Hello, and welcome back to another live show discussing all the latest Manchester United news, transfer news, updates, rumours, and reports coming out today. And I do apologise for being really late to this live. It was just completely crashing my laptop, and I didn't want to cause any problems. But we've got lots of interesting stories in, two out. Is sort of the rumour going about. Barcelona are in to buy two Manchester United players, according to reports in Spain. Gnabry, Chizea, and Nico Williams have all been linked to United, with United doing due diligence ahead of a move in the January window. But David Ornstein has actually revealed what Manchester United's plans are ahead of the January window, and he says they will be going for a forward. He's revealed the next signing at United will be a forward, but this will just depend on getting people sold in January. Now, we have 4 stars that have actually put in a request or would like to leave in January. 4 players set to go out in January as well that we're going to get into. Obviously, one of them is a youth player that wants to go out and get some minutes on loan, but 3 first team stars could be on the way out in January. And even potentially, if we do get that attacking signing in that David Ornstein has mentioned, which we'll get into, potentially Martial could be a player leaving in January. So there's a lot of January transfer news coming out, and I'm always a bit skeptical with transfer news at this point in the window. But I think because we know that Jadon Sancho is effectively finished at Manchester United, I think you can sort of address some of the transfer news, I think, particularly when it comes to right wing, because we know from Ornstein and reliable sources, United are doing due diligence there. But I think with like transfer news as well, at this point in the window, it's a bit like, okay, but we'll get into that. We've got some news on Hannibal Mejbri. We've got some news on Ten Hag making some big changes. We've got some news on the sale process. And we've got some news on Barcelona, actually. Barcelona could be getting a ban from football. Obviously, they're being investigated for like paying referees and all of that stuff. I don't know if you were familiar with that case, but maybe never say no to Frankie de Jong. Sam Wallace. I want to get into Sam Wallace's report quickly because I know this isn't to do with United, but never say no to Frankie de Jong here, people, as well. Let me show you this story here. It was said Barcelona will face bribery charges in the Spanish court over a refereeing scandal that could potentially lead to the club being banned from football. Now, I don't think it will be dramatic as this. Headline, clickbait, the kind of stuff we do in the media. But, Barcelona could be in some big trouble. We will get into that more. But I think I commented, I said this here. I said Man United's only hope of getting de Jong. So you never know, people. You never know. Frankie de Jong surprise move. Now, I am joking with that one as well. Alex has said, I bet Sancho always buys himself on FIFA. That's got to be one of the funniest chats of the day as well. One day de Jong will come. Do you know what? If you've been watching my channel for a while, you'll know I have a bit of a delusion, which is Frankie de Jong will be a Man United player one day. It's a bit of a delusion. It's a bit of a hope. And I think every day that passes by, it's looking less and less likely. But you know that I absolutely love Frankie de Jong. And you know what? I think soon, one day, he could become a player at this club. But we're not going to talk about Barcelona. We're not a Barcelona channel. We're a Manchester United channel. So we're going to get into some news stories. I want to get into a news story about Barcelona going in for Sancho and Anthony Martial. 2 of our players are being eyed up by Barcelona, so I will get into that and cover that story. I also want to get into the news story on Chizea. Now, I think you guys are probably familiar with this because it did come out at like midday today, but there was a report coming out that United are looking at Chizea as a Sancho replacement, and it wasn't the best source in the world, in all honesty, but it would be a good player. Now, there's a few reports coming out from Italy, and I'm going to say this to you now. Italian media, Italian cooking, brilliant. Italian media, yes, it's not so brilliant. I will tell you that now. I'm always skeptical when something comes out in Italian news, but it basically came out today from Italy, and there was a few reports saying it, so this is why I'm giving it attention, because it's not just this source. It was said Manchester United have identified Chizea as the top target to replace Jadon Sancho. United want to sign him in January, and then there were some reports coming out, and this is where I didn't believe it, saying United will be willing to spend up to 60 million euros to sign the player. So I think that we are looking at the guy and he's a potential option to replace Sancho in January. But when they say in the report that United will be willing to spend up to 60 million euros to buy the guy in January and that United are willing to spend money, that's when the report becomes a little bit less believable for me. Because when you're reporting that Manchester United will be willing to spend the money to sign this player and willing to spend the money to sign that player, I'm a bit like, Man United willing to spend money, you know, yeah, who surprises me. Do hit the like buttons, guys. Can we get 200 likes? We've got over 250 people watching in the opening 4 minutes of the stream, so make sure you get on the likes and stuff as well. But I want to continue up with this story. Now, I want to quickly talk about Chizea. I think that he's a good player, but he's injury prone, and I'd actually avoid. And the reason I'd avoid is I don't want to sign a player that's injury prone anymore. I know that he's good. I know there's improvement on Sancho, but I want someone that's got some kind of reliability with the situation we're in. I love Varane, but he's injury prone. It's frustrating. I think when you sign an injury prone player, you almost have to have that one extra player in that position. And maybe we will with the likes of Amad Diallo and Police Stream. We're going to get into that. Amad Diallo is expected back really soon. So is Kobbie Mainoo, and we will get into that in a second. But I think with Chizea, I like him. I rate the player. I'm just skeptical about how long can he stay fit for. Is he going to be another Martial, Pogba, Varane? Seems to always be the French players. They're really unlucky where they're just getting injured left, right, and centre, and it's a bit like, I'm not sure. But he wasn't the only right winger Manchester United were linked to today. We were linked with 3 right wing targets, and I'm going to get into all of this and also give you the credibility of the sources. So the second right winger Manchester United were linked to today was, of course, a Gnabry. Now, we've been linked with Gnabry a few times, and again, it's not come out from the best source in the world, but it's claimed that Manchester United are interested in signing Gnabry due to the uncertainty over Sancho's future, and that Manchester United are actually having talks with Bayern over this. Now, we know that Manchester United had talks with Bayern in the summer, but that was more over the situation with McTominay potentially going Bayern's way, and then Bayern were basically begging us to buy Goretzka. It's literally Bayern were literally coming in begging us to buy Goretzka, which obviously, but Goretzka is very overrated. Don't particularly rate him. So we know he had talks with Bayern in the summer, but I believe none of that was over Gnabry. And then the third and final player Manchester United have been linked to is Nico Williams, who's only got 1 year left on his contract and is a great young player and would probably be top of my list for a right winger just because of his age. And I think his general potential. Obviously, we've got Amad and Pellistri that can play right wing, but I think Nico Williams would be the ideal situation. Now, David Ornstein has come out and made a few comments in his Q&A today. David Ornstein did a Q&A where he mentioned a few really interesting points. So I'm going to dive into some of the things Ornstein said, and then I'm going to get into the 4 players that want to leave. And then I want to talk about Palacios, who apparently is Manchester United's #1 summer signing as well. So we've got quite a few interesting stories to get into. So let me get what David Ornstein initially said, and then let me get into more depth about it. Let me get it up on the screen because I realize I'm not sharing my screen with anything, so you can actually see where I'm getting information from, because that does help people. Because every now and then people go, Alice, where'd you get that from? And I can show you the source. So anyway, David Ornstein says Man United's forwards do not produce. They free up some funds through departures and potentially look to enter the market for a striker. David Ornstein has revealed that from what he's hearing, Manchester United's next signing will be a forward or a striker, particularly a striker. If Manchester United have the funds, they will make sure their next kind of signing is a striker. Obviously, if players are out and there's a big injury crisis, we might have to sign a midfielder or a left back. But Ornstein's kind of confirmed the priority, the next signing is likely to be a striker. But a lot of this will depend on funds raised in January, whether that comes through Sancho or not. And also, I think a big part of that will massively depend on the whole situation with ownership. We just got a super chat as well. Hi, Alice. I'm really excited for the match Saturday. I enjoyed Eric Ten Hag football last game. I think good things are coming. Let's be patient. Thank you very much for the super chat. And I agree. I'm also quite excited for the match on Saturday. And one of the reasons I think behind that is, again, I think just having a good match midweek, having a few players back in, knowing that Amrabat's going to play, Varane's available, Mount's available, knowing that we've got a few core players back and that we played well last game, I have gone into it thinking, you know what, I'm quite excited about the game on Saturday as well. So, yeah, I'm really excited to see what we see because we did play well in the last game as well. But thank you very much for the super chat as well. Sorry, Alice, in January we have to buy a good or great centre-half. Look, this is what Man United's plan is. I'm going to tell you some interesting information on what Manchester United's plan is. So Manchester United have this big plan. I say that. Did Man United complete the big plans? Not often. But what Manchester United want to do, and this was confirmed by inside sources and everybody, is we are looking to sign 2 centre-backs in the summer. We are looking for cover for Martinez and cover for Varane because of Varane's injury record. Manchester United this summer his goal is to sign 2 centre-backs, a right winger or striker, depending on what happens in January, and a long-term replacement for Casemiro. Manchester United want 2 centre-backs, a Casemiro replacement, and a right winger in summer. Sorry, summer. That's our plan for the summer. That is the plan. Now, Manchester United have actually been looking at Palacios of Bayer Leverkusen, who's had a fantastic start to the season, as one of their options. So I don't know if he's an out-and-out 6. I think he's better going forward. But they are looking at him as a long-term Casemiro replacement. But they're also looking at this young player called Oscar Zambrano in South America. There's a fantastic young player as well as a potential Casemiro replacement as well. What's that, Alice? One sec. I'm just reading something here. So yeah, sorry about that. I was just reading an interesting chat there. So Manchester United are looking at those kind of players. They're looking to maybe bring in an understudy. There's this sort of new Caicedo we've been linked to, and I think having missed out on Moises Caicedo, United have made it very clear. Well, we don't want to miss out on like Moises Caicedo again at all. You know, that's not what we want to do as well. We are on 95 likes, guys, so please do continue hitting the like button and, of course, subscribe down below. But one of the interesting things that's come out today is obviously, one sec. I'm just reading this story. I don't think this is true. Let me just read this before I say it, because it's a bit... there's a story coming out that Ten Hag is ready to kick 4 players out of the dressing room. I'm just looking at this now. Eric Ten Hag is, and this is I think this is an opinion though. I think this is opinion. So Rob Dawson put out this thing here. This is an interesting story coming out. Rob Dawson's put out here. Eric Ten Hag continues his war against what he believes is a decline in the level of professionalism at the club. He's said to inherited a team without good culture. His message with his disciplinary measures is don't mess with the manager. So Rob Dawson's come out and said that Eric Ten Hag is basically waging a war against the lack of professionalism at the club, and that Eric Ten Hag feels that he's inherited a team without a good culture, and that's why he's sending strong disciplinary messages by obviously exiling players like Sancho, obviously Ronaldo in the past. Now Rob Dawson has said here, Eric Ten Hag remains concerned about the attitude of some of his players and Sancho's punishment as seen as a warning that there will be no room for those who do not pull in the same direction. It was spun off here in this report, which is an opinion based over on OneFootball, that Eric Ten Hag is unhappy with the attitude of 4 other players on top of Jadon Sancho, and that he is willing to punish players to send a message that lack of discipline, lack of effort, and lack of hard work will not be tolerated at the club. Eric Ten Hag will not back down on the situation surrounding Jadon Sancho, because that means he would lose his authority and power over the dressing room. The only way back is for Sancho to apologise, but Eric Ten Hag is ready to clear out the dressing room of any other players that want to follow suit and he thinks are a negative environment. Eric Ten Hag has made it clear to Manchester United players, if they have an opinion, they can voice it publicly to him and he will listen. But he also said to United players, if they do not want to be here, they do not like the culture of the club and they are not interested, they're more than welcome to tell him so he can kick them out and remove them from the dressing room. And the feeling is now the 4 stars do want January moves. Now, obviously, these stars, one of them will not be acting out against Ten Hag because he's looking for a loan move and is a youth player. It said that Joe Hugill would like to go out on loan in January and that Ten Hag will approve of that. But 3 other stars are waiting for January moves, reportedly in Scott McTominay, which, he had a chance to go to Fulham, but Scott McTominay believed he was bigger than Fulham. And a funny story. Other reports coming out, of course, with Jadon Sancho, but there are also reports coming out that Barcelona are interested in Martial. So a few interesting stories coming in and about there as well. But obviously, Maguire is not one of the names listed in terms of players looking to leave in January. But as Nick said, rumours. I think, take stories with a pinch of salt. The way I see it, and I'm going to be honest with you guys, there's a lot of stories, there's a lot of rumours, there's a lot of things going about. And Alice is going to give you her brutal, honest review on these stories, on these rumours, on every bit of information coming about. And this is what I'm going to say to you now. Okay? McTominay will leave next summer, but not in January. I have a very strong feeling he will leave next summer and we will not get anywhere near £30 million for him because McTominay is way below the pecking order. Bruno is number 1. Casemiro is number 2. Mason Mount is number 3. Amrabat is number 4. I think Maino will be number 5. Mejbri is number 6. McTominay is choice number... No, Eriksson is number 7. McTominay is choice number 8 with Donny van de Beek. McTominay will go in January. No, McTominay will go in the summer. I doubt McTominay will go in January unless someone puts an offer in for him. And you know what the most frustrating thing about the McTominay situation, which I find really frustrating, is the clear fact that we had an offer for McTominay for 30 million from Newcastle last January. January of 2023, Newcastle came in and said, look, we'll give you 30 million pounds for Scott McTominay. So here was Newcastle putting in a nice and generous offer for Scott McTominay. What did Manchester United do? They rejected that. They wouldn't let Scott McTominay go to Newcastle, which part of me went, okay, we have this big injury crisis. It kind of makes a little bit of sense, maybe because Eriksson getting injured and all of that. Maybe I get it. But then I'm like, did that make sense? If we were a proper run club, if we were a well-run club, we would have got rid of McTominay in January and we would have spent 30-40 million pounds on a midfielder in January, someone that Ten Hag wanted, not these silly loan deals. But I think on this story that 4 stars are set to be removed from the dressing room and sort of kicked out from Ten Hag by January, I think take that with a pinch of salt, because I think with sort of the McTominay situation, again, I think that he will be gone in the summer unless we get a suit of him in January. But the teams that went in for McTominay in the summer, he rejected a lot of them. He thought he was too big for Fulham, which is a little bit worrying there. Maguire, I think, will have a good season. Tell me this now. I don't know why. I have a feeling Maguire's going to have a good season. I think he will go in the summer. I think he will go next summer because I know that Manchester United is scouting to bring in 2 centre-backs, not 1 centre-back. Manchester United and Ten Hag plan to bring in 2 centre-backs next summer. So I believe Maguire will go next summer. I don't believe the reports that Barcelona are going to go for Anthony Martial. I really don't. But I do believe that there's an interest in Sancho. There are a lot of clubs interested in Sancho. So as for the story that 4 players are going to be removed from the dressing room and kicked out ahead of the January window, again, I think that Sancho will go. I think McTominay very much depends on the offer. I think Joe Hugo will obviously go out on loan, and that will be a smart move for him. But I don't think Martial will be going anywhere in January, and I don't think Maguire will be going anywhere in January. And obviously there's rumours of 2 outs, 2 ins, Martial and Sancho leaving, and Nico Williams and the striker coming in, and Ornstein to be on the forward. But again, I know what this club is like when it comes to selling. I know what this club is like when it comes to buying. I'm very skeptical with the news. I think when transfer news is coming out in September, I just sit there and think, really, do you know what I mean? I just kind of sit there and think, really, is this what we're trying to do? I'm very skeptical with the news as well. Hopefully Anthony will be back by end of October. There's a feeling that Anthony will be back quick. He was spotted obviously having an interview today as well. You could try for Soboslai. I did a video on Soboslai on the second channel as well. So yeah, someone said Alice should talk about yourself in third person. Am I? I don't know what's in. You could try for Sob. I do really like Soboslai of Liverpool. I don't like that. I like it. Scott McTominay could be used in a Kane deal. I don't think. Do you know what's funny? I'll tell you an interesting story on Scott McTominay. Actually, I was speaking to someone about this. So basically, Thomas Tuchel wanted Scott McTominay. Okay, but Bayern stopped it. Bayern said to Thomas Tuchel, "No, McTominay's not the kind of player we want. Palhinha is a DM. Basically, McTominay is often misprofiled as a DM, but he's always played best as an 8. And Thomas Tuchel wanted Scott McTominay. Thomas Tuchel was really keen on signing Scott McTominay and sort of getting him in at United. And Bayern actually stopped that. There was talks going on. McTominay almost went to Bayern, but the Bayern recruitment team, because Bayern employ proper people to scout players, actually said no because he's not a 6. But I think Thomas Tuchel thought that McTominay was a 6. I think there's this common misconception that he's a 6, and it was actually stopped as well, which I think was interesting as well. No point keeping a player who's not fit for purpose. Yeah, I think we've got to get rid of all the players that don't want to be here as well. We need Todibo. There are rumours that we're going to go back to Todibo next summer. As said, United Muppeteers, a few sources have said that United actually are eyeing up to bring 2 centre-backs next summer on top of another forward, on top of a long-term Casemiro replacement as well. Maguire played great with 3 at the back. I think Maguire could have a good second half of the season. I think he could. With Amrabat and the stability added, I think we could see a better Maguire. But again, at the end of the day, he has to go. And Adam says Barca have less money than us. And I want to talk about this. Barcelona do have less money than United. Barcelona are the kings of broke FC. We're broke FC, whatever you're going to call it. But the difference between Barcelona and Man United is any money that Barcelona have. This is how I describe it. Okay, you know when you go around your house looking for change, and then you pull up the sofa and you find 10p, and then you open up loads of drawers and you find another pound. Barcelona are the type of people, if they've got no money, but they're opening every single drawer in the house, looking under every single sofa, looking in every single pocket, looking in every single cupboard, looking everywhere in the house. And Barcelona find all these pennies, and the next thing they know, you've got £10 all of a sudden that you didn't know you had, or just loose change. Man United are the type of club where they've got money sitting in their piggy bank. No, I'm not going to touch that. That's for later. That's for later. We've got no money. That's for later. That's for later club. When Man United actually have the money there in front of them, but they're like, that's for later. That's for later. Barcelona, like Manchester United, financially have some issues, but they are looking to spend that and do everything they can. And reportedly, they're looking at Manchester United players, which would be really nice if you could take Sancho. And although I think Martial's been decent with his injury record, if you can take Sancho and Martial off our hands in January so we can go and sign the forward that Ornstein was talking about, that would be absolutely brilliant. But don't see that happening as well. Sancho, Maguire, McSauce, and Martial out in January. Potentially, I mean, they are the four big first team players that look most likely to go as well. If Martial is injury free, Matt star player, yes and no. One, he's a bit inconsistent, but two, I think because he's had so many injuries and so much time out, he doesn't have that pace that he has. I think if Martial's fully fit and he's there on the bench as a bench player, back up to Højlund, I think that's all right if he's fully fit to be that backup player. But I think I would be worried about him in terms of, even if he didn't get an injury, I don't know if he's going to be the same player, if he's going to have that same blistering pace as well. I think your McTominay is going to be a squad player. It depends on if Erik ten Hag's long-term plans. Yeah, McTominay is not an Erik ten Hag's long-term plans. He said he could leave if he wanted to as well. And I think he might leave because I think the one thing we've always said on McTominay is he works really hard. He's got this incredible work rate. Scott works hard, great work rate. But then I'm seeing McTominay playing with this kind of not really jogging, not really running. If he's not got his work rate and he's not playing for the badge, he's not got this desire to play for United. So the way I look at it with Scott is I don't think his head's at the club, and I think he will go. Leo Gio says lazy journalism. I do think these reports coming out of 4 players leaving and Ten Hag ready to remove 4 stars and 2 in, 2 out in January, Sancho's going and Gnabry's coming in. I do think it's lazy journalism. I think, this Sancho's, Ten Hag wants these 4 players gone, so let's say they're going and we're bringing in this player and this player. It's like, I think people are just being a bit lazy with the journalism. I think that United are scouting some players for next summer. I think United, as David Ornstein said, their next signing is hopefully a forward. David Ornstein says Man United do plan on signing a forward, but it depends on sales. I think, there's a lot of fake news coming out at the moment, I think, in the media and everything as well. Let me scroll down. We're on 135 likes, guys. Let's see if we can hit 200 likes. We've got 500 people watching, so please do hit the like button as well. Lamine Yamal is Barcelona's 16-year-old, could be a great player. Man City is begging for Barca to sign him. Do you know what I think is funny as well about these Sancho to Barcelona rumours? Is the fact that, Ferran Torres doesn't start at Barcelona. Rafinha doesn't start at Barcelona on the right wing. And all of a sudden, Jadon Sancho is going to go to Barcelona and think he's going to start week in, week out. I could see Jadon Sancho going to Barcelona, Lamine Yamal starting over him. And all of a sudden, Sancho has the same problems at Barcelona. Starts not liking the manager. Why aren't I starting? Why aren't I being scapegoated? And, for me, I think this Sancho to Barcelona story makes no sense as well. We're on 137 likes, so please do hit the like buttons, guys, and of course subscribe down below as well. Barca signed a treble-winning captain for Gundogan for free. They did. That was a good signing there. But do you know what annoys me about Man City is they lose Gundogan and then they go replace him with Nunes and Kovacic. They get good replacements in as well, which is so infuriating. I wish we could just do good stuff as well. Gain says United clueless in the market. We absolutely are. There are rumours of Ivan Toney and Osimhen in January. Look, if we can get Osimhen in January, absolutely brilliant. But the reason I haven't spoke about the Ivan Toney rumours or the Osimhen rumours or any of these news stories floating about what we're apparently going to do in January is because I'll be honest with you guys, I don't believe any of them. I don't believe we're going to go and sign Evan Ferguson or Victor Osimhen or Ivan Toney in January, despite reports, because I just look at it and I go, where's the money coming from? Seriously, guys. Where is the money coming on for Manchester United to go out there and sign Evan Ferguson or Ivan Toney or Victor Osimhen in January? We don't have that money. For me, that story is an absolute lie. We're on 145 likes, guys, so please do hit the like button. Of course, subscribe down below if you're new. McTominay puts extra work in when it comes to playing for Scotland. Why can't he do that at United? I think because he's not wanted under Ten Hag. Do you know what the problem with McTominay is? He used to be known for his work rate and giving 100%. In the last few games he's played, he's not given 100%, or he's just lost all of his fitness, which isn't true because he was really good for Scotland the other day. McTominay knew that Ten Hag accepted a 30 million bid for him. Ten Hag said, "You're not in the plans, you can go." McTominay knows the manager doesn't really have much interest in him. He knows, the manager doesn't really want him. So when you're at a club, which, McTominay could have left, he chose not to. He said he was too big for Fulham, apparently. But when you're at a club when you know the manager doesn't really want you, when you know you're not the manager's ideal choice, you kind of lose focus. And I think that's what's happened with Scott McTominay. He knows he's not the manager's number one choice. And I think all that effort that he used to put in, he's not put in. At Scotland, he knows that he's the first choice midfielder. All of a sudden, he puts a lot of effort in for Scotland. I think that's the big problem with McTominay. It's all of a sudden, I don't think he's putting the effort in, which actually was the whole reason people liked him as well. Martial can be used when playing with open teams, more spaces work for Martial. I'd put him after 60 minutes of the match. I think Martial will be better after 60 minutes of the match against tired legs. I think Martial's good at holding up the ball. I think Martial's good at linking with Rashford, but I think Martial massively does struggle with a few things. I just don't think he's got that pace that he used to have to run in behind, and Ten Hag wants to play transition football, and I think just Rasmus Højlund is much better suited to the way we want to play going forward. As Daniel said, guys, please do keep hitting the like button as well. We need a right winger in January more than a striker now for me. Sancho and Anthony gone, Diallo injured, Pellistri might not be ready, a right wing needs to come in. Well, David Ornstein said that obviously a striker in January is our next signing target. And I think because there's an expectation that Anthony will probably be back within the next month is probably why. The reason I think we need a right winger more than a striker, but actually the way I see it is Anthony could be back. We've got Pellistri that can play on the right. We've got Mount that can play on the right. We've got Bruno that can play on the right, and Amad Diallo will be coming back in. There's a feeling that Anthony will probably be back way before Christmas. I reckon Anthony will be back in a month. He's back in England. I know that's for that reason, but I think he'll be back really soon. So that's why I think Ornstein said that our number one target in January is a striker. It's a forward, but ideally a striker, because I think with Martial, Ten Hag expects him to just pick up an injury. Just even though we've had a big injury crisis this season and none of them have been Martial, I think Ten Hag just sits there and kind of expects Martial to be next and doesn't want to rely on a 20-year-old Højlund and put too much pressure on him. So I think that's why it is a striker in January. And one of the strikers we've been linked to is Marcus Leonardo. I see a lot of people talking about Ivan Toney, Evan Ferguson, all of these strikers. But in all honesty with you, if we're going to sign a striker, it will be Marcus Leonardo, I think, in January. I don't think we'll get Evan Ferguson, Ostenham, or Ivan Toney. We don't have the money for that. It would be someone like Evan Ferguson as well. Someone said Sancho needs to stop playing video games as well. Martial was class. He needs to stay till the end of the season. Shaw might need to be replaced. He's injury prone. His injuries are keeping him out for long. Sergio might need to be signed permanently. Personally, disagree because Reguilon's injury prone. But Martial, I'd keep him to the end of the season. Then I would replace him. Luke Shaw, we just need a more efficient backup. Although I think Velasquez is a good backup. I think we've just been unlucky with injuries. But I wouldn't probably sign Sergio Reguilon a permanent because he does have a big injury record as well. And personally, look, Reguilon's been great, but it's been 3 games. Like, I've been really impressed with Reguilon, but it's been 3 games. Football's not how good you are with 3 games. We judge Reguilon, I think, more so in January as well. But what I like about Reguilon is he's playing for his career. And you notice that, I think some players at United are too comfortable on their long contracts with their big wages. Reguilon is playing for his career. He knows he's third choice at Spurs. If you were third choice in your position at Spurs, like, that's really not a good position to be in. Spurs loaned him out to us, and he knows if he plays well for us, he's got a chance of coming to us or at least another top team, or he just kind of rots at Spurs and, his career goes boom. Reguilon knows that, like, he's playing for his career, he's playing for his future. Reguilon doesn't want to go from Spurs to like a tiny little club back in La Liga. He's been at Real Madrid, he's been at top teams. He just, he wants to play. Reguilon's playing for a move. And I find with loan players, if you're playing for a move, you're given everything. So I think that's the thing with Reguilon. He's playing well because he's playing for a move. But I don't think ultimately he'll be good enough. But maybe as a backup, you never know. Ivan Toney's a gamble, good one there as well. It'll be interesting to see how Ivan Toney does on his return. Obviously spending a long time out. Look, I get why he was banned, but I wouldn't have banned him for that long. I mean, the thing for me is if he's betting on games that have nothing to do with him, surely that shouldn't be a problem. Unless he was betting on Brentford games, then I think that would be a problem as well. Osimhen. I just can't say things, okay? I can't say things. You know me as well. We have overpaid twice for players over the years. Yeah, we massively overplay as well. Respectfully, international football isn't even close to the level of Premier League football. Yeah. I mean, does anyone watch international football outside the World Cup and Euros? I don't really watch England. Maybe if it's a big game or background game, but if it's not the World Cup and Euros, I'm not super interested in watching international football unless like loads of Man United players are playing, and maybe that's just because I'm more invested in United. We're really close to the 200 like button as well. Alice, what's the latest on the takeover? I'll tell you the latest on the takeover because Fabrizio Romano came in with an update on the takeover, and Fabrizio Romano said a few interesting things. He basically said that Sir Jim and Qatar are both in the race still. Sir Jim would like to do a lot to make this happen. He's really keen on buying the club, but he doesn't want to give the owners any voting power. He wants, full control, essentially, despite allowing Joe and Abraham to stay. And Romano said that he's not really heard much from the Qatari side. They haven't commented, but he said that Qataris are still very much involved. So a lot of good sources saying, look, there's talks going on. They're all still involved. They all still want the club, and there's movement going on behind the scenes. But people don't remember this. Just because we haven't heard any news today, or if we haven't heard any news in the last, I don't know, week, or we don't hear any news for the next 2 weeks, doesn't mean it's gone quiet again. People don't realize it. Right now, there could be some real, I'm not saying that there is, but right now with this takeover, there could be some real advancements going on. This takeover could be seeing some massive advancements. Things could be moving super, super quickly right now that we don't know about. But because of the NDAs, if anything big happens, we might not know for a few days after. I said I did a video a couple of days ago on the takeover, and I said you don't know it's done until it's done. And the reason I said that is I said we won't know it till it's over because of the NDAs. We won't actually know how close it is until it's done. We'll get indications, we get rumors, but I wouldn't be surprised in 3 weeks, well, probably not 3 weeks, probably 3 months, but I wouldn't be surprised if one day out of nowhere, a story broke that this person had dropped out the race and the other person was about to be named the winner. I wouldn't be surprised. It's not like a transfer like when we got Højlund, it build up and build up and build up, and we're waiting for like a month for the Højlund. Here we go. I think with the takeover, it's basically it's just gonna jump soon. That's what I think it will do. I think it will be quiet and then we'll get bang. It's not like a Nana signing, Højlund signing, where we know for weeks and weeks and weeks we're going to get here we go, and then we get the here we go. I think you could go quiet for 4 weeks and then all of a sudden there'll be a story. And I think that story will be, so Jim has dropped out, Qatar is now taking the lead, or Qatar have dropped out, so Jim is taking the lead. We'll get a story about one of the main bidders dropping out, and then that will kickstart it. That's what I think with the takeover and all those stories as well. Anthony will come back. Yeah, I believe Anthony will come back. Obviously, I don't know what anyone else knows. Maybe there's some stuff there that hasn't been leaked online that we don't know. But from what was leaked online and other witnesses and people dropping out, I assume Anthony will be back soon. But again, there could be something out there that hasn't been released that we don't know about as well. Bruno needs to pass the ball to Højlund. Yeah, I agree. I think Bruno is really good at providing service. So hopefully he puts the ball into Højlund. One thing I've noticed with Højlund, and a lot of this is something that can be really advanced. We've seen this with Rashford and players in the younger days, is he's not very confident with his head and at heading. So I think we need to drill those low crosses into Højlund. Obviously Rashford was like that when he was Højlund's age, just, didn't want to head the ball or anything. But I think that can be worked on with Benny McCarthy. You can see Rashford's a lot better in the air. We can see Bruno's a lot better in the air. Hopefully Højlund adapts and comes a bit better in the air, because for a tall player, I think he'd be good in the air. But I think we need to put crosses and service into Højlund, but he likes it on the floor, you can tell as well. Some of our players are overrated. I agree. But some of our players are overrated by themselves, if that makes sense. I think some of our players that aren't playing think they're better than they are. I think McTominay turning down Fulham like he was too good for Fulham. I think that Fulham's a good club. It's a Premier League club. You're a Premier League player. Do you know what I mean as well? We need Marcus from Santos. He's an incredible finisher. Again, I've said this before and I'll say it again. Osimhen, Ivan Toney, Evan Ferguson, that won't happen. Marcus Leonardo from Santos could happen. I'll tell you this now. The only striker we'll be signing in January is someone in that 30 million range, if you know what I'm saying as well. I'm just scrolling down the chats. I'm a little behind. When is Amad Diallo coming back? So should I come in with the update? Because we've got some really big and interesting updates on players returning. So basically, there's unfortunately another international break in 2 weeks. I know it feels like we've just had one. But Amad Diallo and Kobbie Mainoo are set to be back for that international break. So basically, I guess because of the international break, that Man City game we play end of October. So essentially, there's a feeling that actually they could be fit in about 2 weeks and then ready to play in maybe about 4 weeks. So Amad Diallo and Kobbie Mainoo are expected back sort of mid-end of October when the international break is on, which will be good. So I reckon about 2 weeks they'll be properly back. Obviously, Kobbie Mainoo is back in light training. Ahmad might be a week or so after Kobbie Mainoo, just because Ahmad had to have a lot more done, like surgery and stuff. But yeah, they should be back really soon, according to sources as well. We should have got Szoboszlai instead of Mount. I do think that Szoboszlai maybe would have been a better fit, but Mason Mount was really good last game, and I think come end of the season we'll know if we made the right decision or not. 192 likes, guys, 8 likes away from 200 likes. So what are we doing here as well? Ratcliffe is all about the loans. I think with Ratcliffe, because of the loans and the situation, it's difficult. What I reckon is this: if Ratcliffe ups his bid, Sheikh Yassin will match it. If Ratcliffe ups his bid again, Sheikh Yassin will match it, because Sheikh Yassin's side and Sheikh Yassin's sources have constantly said in regards to this takeover, they've basically said they are not worried about Sir Jim. Their only fear is if our owners decide not to sell. So I think as long as Sir Jim keeps bidding, they'll match Sir Jim's bid every time. That's what I think they'll do. I still think that Qatar will win in the end. But maybe that's a bit of delusion, but that's what I think. We are on 203 likes, guys, so please do hit the like button, and of course subscribe down below if you're Palistri better than Anthony, Ahmad better than Anthony. Who is your when fit, who would you take? Anthony, Palistri, or Ahmad? When fit, who are you going for? Anthony, Palistri, or Ahmad? Interested to see as well. Newcastle in the next round of the cup. Yeah, it's why do we always get difficult draws? I feel like it's fixed. Like when we got Barcelona in the Europa League, and when we had Ronaldo when they drew us PSG. Do you remember that? We had Ronaldo and they drew us against PSG as well when they had Messi. I thought in the UCL, I do think a lot of those draws are fixed. 210 likes, and as Diego says, do subscribe for all the best breaking news as well. City are out the cup, so do we go back in for the Carabao because City are out and there's a good chance to win it? Their quadruple dreams are over already, or do you go just keep rotating on all the Carabao Cup games, and if we go out, we go out? We don't have the squad depth for this. It did hurt us a lot last season going to the end in the Carabao Cup and focusing on other things. What's your thoughts on that as well? You should develop your second channel. The content looks promising. Maybe a few live streams occasionally. Thanks, Stormzy. Yeah, I am working on the second channel, trying to get 3 videos out a day talking about things on football as well. I'd love to see Martial start again on Saturday, but on the left where he could be dangerous running at players. Yeah, what are your thoughts on Martial at the left? Do you think Martial could still work on the left, or do you think that he's a striker and keep him striker? Does he have the legs to be a left wing as well? Hannibal's looked great. No, Hannibal's been fantastic. Most of you would play. It's a very big mix. Most of you would play Palistri right wing, then Anthony, then Ahmad. It seems very mixed over who you guys would play at the right wing. Alice, do you think is there any relevant news on the takeover? Is any of it relevant? Well, I think if it comes from Romano or Reuters or something, you can take it with. You can go, okay, this is interesting. But all we know with I'm going to say this one more time. All we know with the takeover is things are ongoing. We don't know what's ongoing, but there's talks ongoing. There's expected to be movement. The feeling is there's expected to be movement come October, November. Now, there's always been this big report that people have been speculating since April that the Qataris are going to make their move in November. But again, who knows? Obviously, Neil Custis has been saying since May, watch in November, watch the Qataris make their move. I know someone, actually, I'm going to tell you this. I know someone who has connections to Qataris, and they've said some things to me. They've had some contact to me, and they said the contact that they've had, they get very positive indications that they will be the next owners. Again, and I trust that person. They showed me the evidence. They showed me the proof. So it's like, I don't know what to believe, but there is confidence coming from the Qataris camp. But there also seems to be confidence coming from Sir Jim's camp, and he's reconstructing his bid and stuff. I think the takeover is a little bit tiring. Well, 229 likes, people, so please do hit the like button. And of course, subscribe down below if you're new. Trophies is the only currency I'm interested in. I've got a question as well, actually. This is an interesting question. What would you rather win, the Premier League or the Champions League? Yeah, just interested to see. I feel like I'd probably rather win the Premier League, just because I know it's been longer since you've won the Champions League, but I think it just feels more, I don't know, it just feels a little bit better in the sense of you've worked 38 weeks through it and you are the best team in the league. I don't know. I was interested to see if you'd rather win the Premier League or the Champions League. We're starved of that at Man United. We take any, but I think the Premier League's probably slightly better to win as well. What we know about the takeover is nothing, says Nick, and you're probably correct with that. I don't think people know much as well. Yeah, most of you are saying Premier League over Champions League in the chat there as well. yeah, most of you Premier. I think it just feels. I mean, look, I would say any, but yeah, I think I'll go with Premier League. Rashford will be straight back in the team. He should be dropped. I don't think Rashford has been great lately. But look, I wouldn't. I think the only thing about Rashford and a lot of people write him off is how do we score goals without Rashford in the team? That's why he plays, because he's the only guy in this team that can actually score goals. He's the only guy in this team that can actually score goals. So for me, yeah, there are a set of fans that want Rashford and Bruno out of this club, but I'm just thinking we wouldn't score any goals without them at the club. Like, we wouldn't create much as well. But the one thing I will criticise Rashford on is his work rate. Rashford, look, I'm a big fan of Marcus Rashford. I do really like Marcus Rashford, but his work rate has got to improve. For me, you know, he wasn't tracking back. You saw Garnacho and Pellistri were absolutely fantastic off the ball. The other day, they were absolutely brilliant off the ball, and you know, that's what I want to see from Rashford. I want to see him tracking back. I want to see him giving cover. I think that's something he's not done as well at is out of possession work. He needs to work harder. But I know a lot of people try and act like Rashford and Bruno is this big problem, but they're really not. There's frustrations in their game, and they can be a little bit selfish, particularly Rashford. And Rashford needs to work harder. But people saying, "Oh, if we drop Rashford and Bruno, we'll have a good season." Rashford and Bruno contributed to 70% of our goals last season. They win you games. That's why they play a lot, because at the end of the day, they win you games. Stormzy said that Liverpool secured a minority investment out of nowhere today. Not one journo had a clue about it. I think that's the nature of these processes in general. So all of these takeover noises are pure BS. This is an interesting comment. I didn't even know this, but I think you know what. With these kind of financial deals, it's not the football journalists that are really going to know that. It would be most likely business journalists. And I think because these financial deals are quite secretive in the space and all of that stuff, I do think you raise a good point here. I think the fact that I had no clue, you had no clue, not many people had a clue. I think that does go back to the whole takeover of Man United. And as I was saying earlier, it's not like when we signed Onana or Højlund or Amrabat, we were waiting weeks and months for a here we go from Romano, and we knew it was going to happen. We were just waiting. I think with the takeover, it's going to be quiet, a few rumours that amount to nothing, and then all of a sudden we're just going to get a story that Sir Jim has pulled out or Qatar has pulled out, and that the owners are advancing with this. I think it will generally drop out of nowhere. It won't be building up like we're waiting for a here we go. It will just be like, okay, we wake up one day and we find out what's happening as well. Basically, we're one like away from 250 likes, so do hit that like button. Let's see if we can get 250 likes. Rashford needs a break. A few games could help him a lot. Yeah, Rashford looks exhausted already into the season. And the thing about Rashford is he does tire out a bit. So, yeah, I think Rashford does need a small break as well. People say we'll very easily score without Rashford. I mean, we can score without Rashford, but, you know, Pellistri doesn't score many goals. Garnacho doesn't score many goals. Højlund's new. Martial's inconsistent. Anthony doesn't score many goals. We don't really have someone that you're like, okay, they score goals. We used to. And that's why there's a reliance on Rashford, because he can put the ball in the net. We don't have some of that natural goal-scoring instinct, which is why Ten Hag never takes Rashford off, because he's thinking, I need a winner. Rashford scores. And Rashford and Bruno, those two players, even when we play bad, they sometimes just come up with winners, don't they? That's what they are. But anyway, people, I'm going to wrap up the live stream here. Please do smash the like button. Of course, subscribe down below if you're new. Share the video. Thank you for watching. I could be back with a bonus video tonight. Depends on the news. See you next time. Bye.